Alright guys, Kevin with Louisiana Snake ID here with you. We got a really cool treat for you. We're a snake identification education page. We also do relocations for people who have unwanted snakes by their house and want them moved. So a few days ago we were called to get a copperhead from somebody's house. Immediately jumped on it to hurry up and get to it so nothing would happen to it. It's a friend of mine, he put it in a bucket for me, so I knew it was going to be safe until I got there. And while waiting to relocate it, I wanted to do a couple videos, but I was working, so I wasn't able to do them right away. So the other day, my son calls me and says, "Hey Dad, you're not going to believe it." I'm like, "What?" And what he called and said, I'm going to show you real quick in a container. So in here we have a venomous copperhead. I'm going to open it up this way. So that's really gorgeous, but look what it had, guys. While in the box to be relocated, it had babies. It actually had 11 babies total, which is about an average size for a clutch. But they actually, 4 of them were stillborn. So 4 didn't make it, but we have 7 healthy babies that will be relocated with the mama. They are getting close to shedding. You could tell by their skin being really wrinkly. Let's not, I don't want her to strike though, because I don't want her to get too nervous. But yeah, these are the healthy babies. There's 7 of them. They're all kind of curled up, huddled together. A myth people ask all the time, or do the snakes hang around their mama? The answer is typically for a couple days until they shed. Their first time, they'll usually hang around, and then after they shed, they'll go. These guys are about to shed. I'm going to let them shed. I'm going to put something in there to help them shed, and then we'll release them. Again, these are venomous eastern copperheads. We're in Louisiana, and these guys are venomous, but while they're venomous, they are the least toxic venom of the venomous species we have in the United States. One common myth that people give us all the time is that they smell like cucumbers. And I want to address that real quick. This container's they've been in a container for a few days now. Every time I open it up, there's never been an issue of a smell of cucumber at all, like not even a hint of it. You would think if that would prove if they really was that scent, that when I open this closed container, other than the small holes, we'd have some kind of smell. You can see she has the elliptical pupils in the camera shot you got right now. However, we don't rely on that, because as the sun goes down, the pupils will dilate, they'll round out, so they'll appear round. Copperheads, you can see their pupils really well because they have a light colored, the other area around the eye, the iris, is real light. So their pupils do stand out. However, to get the shape of a pupil, you have to get entirely too close. We're using a GoPro right now, so you can get really close. So I want to specify that you don't want to rely on the pupil shape because of that very reason. Obviously, if you're watching us on YouTube, we're LA Snake Boys with a Z. Find us on Facebook at Louisiana Snake ID. Like I said, our main goal is snake education and identification. So if you have a question on a snake or you need it relocated, just let us know. Hit us up with a message. We'll let you know right away. But yeah, this is a really cool treat. This is not something I imagined I'd really get to interact with. I never really thought too much about it. A friend of mine, CJ, found, he flipped over a piece of tin the day before this girl had babies, and found a copperhead giving birth to babies. So I thought that was really cool. I was jealous of them, and the next day this one has it. So obviously this time of the year, we're mid-August, mid to late August, they're starting to have the babies. Come back in here real quick, and we're going to focus more on the babies real quick. So I want to go over a couple myths now that we've covered the cucumbers, we covered pupil shape. But you see those neon green tips of the tail on these little babies? What those are, they are absolutely 100% not a stinger. They have no stinging capabilities in their tail. What it is just a different brightly colored scales on their tail. And what that does is that these babies are able to use that tail. They'll wiggle it, and when they wiggle it, it'll look like a worm. So it's a caudal lure they'll use to lure in their prey. And what they're going to do, like I said, is they'll sit very still, and they'll just wiggle that round like a little worm would wiggle. And then a frog or a bird, a little small bird, will come up to it thinking it's a worm, and when it gets close enough, they'll strike. Now we'll go to the next myth. The myth is that baby snakes, copperheads specifically right now, but all baby venomous snakes are more dangerous than the adults because they can't control their venom. Okay, so addressing that one, that is completely entirely false. And I'll give you a couple reasons why. First off, is they can control their venom, okay? And that means that they'll inject it. If they want to inject it, they'll inject as much as they need. They'll actually have dry bites from babies. If they weren't able to control it, you never have a dry bite. What a dry bite is means you get bit. They don't inject any venom. It happens a lot of times. A lot of bites are dry. It's just a snake trying to warn you to leave you alone, but it's not trying to hurt you. It's not trying to kill you because it knows it can't eat you. So because they can do dry bites, that proves that they are able to regulate their venom output. But what we also have to talk about is the venom toxicity. While their venom is as toxic as the adults, and with all venomous pit vipers in the United States, that includes copperheads, that includes cottonmouth water moccasins, that includes all the species of rattlesnakes we have, they use one type of anti-venom to treat all of the pit vipers in the United States. Okay, COPPERHEADS is used to treat all that. If you go to the hospital because you got bit by a snake, you don't need to bring a snake in with you. You don't need to bring it. You don't even need to take a picture. You just need to know, is it a coral snake, which are generally black, red, and yellow, brightly colored, for sure, much more brightly colored than a copperhead or a rattlesnake or a cottonmouth. So if you know it's a brightly colored snake, then tell them, okay, I'm pretty sure I got bit by a coral snake. The bites are very rare, but that is a different antivenom. Other than that, just tell them I get bit by a venomous snake, and they'll treat you with COPPERHEADS, or they should, and that's, like I said, one type of antivenom for all of them. So zoom in back on their tails real quick, and their head sizes. Let me give you a shot of the head size of the mama and the head size. See how big the mama's head is? Because she's much bigger, obviously. The head's not disproportionate, but it's the size of her body. So look how tiny the little baby's heads are. So that, again, is just disproving the myth, because while their venom is just as toxic as the adults, and they can control it, they also have a lot less venom, because, guys, their venom glands are located in their heads. Even if it was located somewhere else in their body, their bodies are so much smaller than the mom or the adult. So it's very common sense would tell you it's impossible, if they have the same type of venom, for these little guys right here to be more toxic than the mom. Now, more dangerous than the mom, because it's just they don't have as much. Even if they were to dump all their venom, the babies, if the dump means they would inject all the venom they have made at that time. If the babies were to dump that venom, guys, there's still less than you'd get from a bite of an adult typically. So just debunking those myths right there. While they are dangerous because they're venomous, they can't help that. But while they are dangerous, guys, they're not more dangerous than the adults. Okay, so I want to get that myth out there. That's something I see all the time on Facebook. I get messages all the time. Well, yeah, the babies are more dangerous than adults. It's just not true, okay? We've gone through the many ways that it's not the case. What should you do if you were to get bit by a venomous snake? Okay, just real quick. If you were to get bit by a venomous snake, you want to seek medical attention immediately, okay? Just because you always want to treat it as if you got injected with venom. As long as you're not allergic to venom, if you don't go into anaphylactic shock from being bit by, stung by a wasp or bit by a few ants, like some people are, generally a copperhead bite's not gonna do much damage to you. You're gonna have some pain, you're gonna have some swelling, but the deaths for a copperhead bite directly just from the venom are super rare, guys. Somebody died in Alabama, I think, a couple years back, but it's because they went anaphylactic shock. They died within like seconds of getting bit. The copperhead venom is literally not anywhere close to being that toxic. They're not anywhere near the top of the list of venomous snakes in the world, like you're dealing with the taipans or even mambas or cobras, okay? So the fact that he died that quick tells you that, yes, while the venom from the copperhead did trigger his reaction, he died from the reaction, not the venom itself. My aunt got bit by one last year on her hand. She had some swelling. She was fine. And my mom said, hey, my aunt got bit by a copperhead. I knew exactly what happened. I told her, I said, I guarantee you she was reaching to pick up her dead daylily flowers, because she has thousands and thousands of daylilies. She's in Mississippi, and sure enough, when I found out, she said, yep, I was reaching down, I didn't look, and I ended up grabbing the snake and it bit me. So she wasn't even mad at the snake. They didn't kill the snake. They ended up relocating it safely away, because the snake wasn't meaning to do anything, okay? What I'm gonna do real quick is I'm gonna get this adult out so we can see the camouflage of her. Come here, Ben. All right, Mama. So let's sit here right here in this. Keep an eye. They can't get out of that container, but just real quick, sorry, cut in front of you. So look real quick at the how great this snake blends into the, okay? So it is so camouflaged, just sitting there. You would just more than likely not see it unless it was moving. And that's what they're some of the best camouflage in the, in the entire world, okay? These rank up there with, like, to me, gaboon vipers, with fertilances, some of the craziest patterns. They just blend in so well with the leaves, guys. You got the shape of, we will look for the Hershey Kiss pattern, typically on the eastern copperheads. They'll typically have that. There are some called aberrant, with aberrant patterns, meaning it just doesn't fit the mold. But those are the exception, not the rule, typically, for the eastern copperheads. Some states have broad banded copperheads, which won't have these shapes. They'll have more bands. That's in Texas, Kansas, and Oklahoma mostly. So we don't deal with those down here. So we always try to teach people, just Don't rely on 100%, but typically when you see the Hershey Kiss pattern, I mean, it really does look like a Hershey Kiss on the sides. From the top, it looks like an hourglass, but from the sides, it looks a lot like a Hershey Kiss. I'm not grabbing her very hard, guys. I'm just letting her kind of do her thing. But there's a hole in this tree, and I don't want her to go in the hole. So, I just see the Hershey Kiss pattern on her side there. That's gonna give you an indication of the copperhead in Louisiana and most of the United States. I wish she would just sit still, but she wants to move around. Understandable. But look, most bites occur, guys, because somebody is walking along and they end up stepping right next to a copperhead and they didn't even know it was there. The copperhead's only defense really is to strike. So they strike and they bite, and that's how it happens. Okay, it's not, the snake is not going to seek you out. It's not trying to come to me. I can't even get it to stay still next to me while it's out of the container. But these snakes are not going to chase you. They're not going to show aggression. They might be defensive. But that's why you always want to look before you grab sticks. I don't want to go grabbing sticks without looking, because there could be a snake curled up right there. Or they could be underneath the leaves, because they will go underneath these leaves sometimes to hide. So if I'm reaching in there and moving all these leaves, I could accidentally get bit by a copperhead that I didn't even know was there. And I'll feel a sting, and then all of a sudden I'll have some swelling. Just stay calm. When you seek medical attention, you want your heart to pump as slow as possible. You don't want to spread the venom by freaking out. The faster your heart beats, the more the blood is spread, because the blood spreads through your body with the venom in it. And that's how the venom works. It works through the bloodstream. So as you can see, again, the amazing camouflage of this girl. She is gorgeous. We didn't know it was a female for sure. She didn't even really look gravid or pregnant, but obviously she was. So very calm snake. I haven't been able to, like, I've interacted with her a few times, taking photos. I've interacted with her now with the videos. We did a live video with her and the babies. I've yet to have her strike at me once. I treat her as a dangerous snake because she's venomous. She can't help that. But they're not aggressive. I don't smell a scent of cucumbers because we're messing with her. Just an absolute gorgeous snake, guys. These snakes, their venom is used to treat breast cancer. A lot of people don't know that. The copperhead venom is used to treat breast cancer from the enzymes that's in the venom. And these guys are also, they eat a lot of pests. They really like to snack on locusts. We put 2 in there. There's 1 in there now. We wanted to give her a little food while we were waiting to do the video until I can relocate her. But yeah, there's a little locust. Cicada is what really, it's called a cicada. We call them locusts down here, but it's really a cicada. But that's one of their favorite snacks, okay? So if you have an oak tree and you have a lot of cicadas, you're probably there's a chance, if they're in your area, that you'll have a copperhead. And it's like I said, it's not trying to hurt you. It's just trying to do its job, eating pests. They eat mice, they eat rats. These snakes will eat the disease-carrying pests that carry diseases to you because they're covered in fleas and ticks, but they also carry diseases to your pets, to your livestock, to wildlife. If you like to hunt and fish, guys, you want to see snakes, even the venomous ones in your area. And I say that, and it confuses people, but it's true, because these snakes aren't going to generally do much to the wildlife. They're not going to bite the deer, and them typically, unless they're stepped on. They're not out seeking them. They're not part of their prey, but they do eat fleas and ticks that make your deer population sick, make squirrel population, rabbit population sick, because they carry diseases like the Lyme disease and ticks, and all kinds of diseases that fleas carry. So you really want to leave the venomous snakes alone. If you absolutely need to relocate it, like I said, we're Louisiana Snake ID on Facebook, LA Snake Boys with a Z on YouTube. You can find us as well online at louisianasnakeid.com. That's where we have our shirts, and we have stickers. The snake life is our goal, okay? We want to get that out there as much as possible. We want people to realize that snakes are beneficial. They don't need to be killed. They don't deserve to be killed just because you don't like them. You don't have to like them, just don't kill them is our goal of the page, okay? We want you to like them, but it's not the main goal. It's a cool shot of her head from this side if you can see it. Yeah, you gotta get low, you can see. Yeah, real cool. But I'm gonna go put her up, and I'm gonna get one of the babies out real quick, and we do so you can see them kind of move around. Like I said, they're close to needing to shed, so we're gonna let them shed in the container before we release them back in the wild, because that's for their benefit. They're more susceptible to attacks by predators whenever they're in the middle of shedding, and once their eyes will gloss over soon. And when that happens, like I said, they'll be very vulnerable, so we don't want to do that. Hey, little babies. Look at them moving. Those 7 babies. They all appear to be healthy at this point. Try to just get one out that's closest, so I don't do too much movement on them. I don't want to bother them too much. I got some out to photograph yesterday. There we go. I'm gonna put this lid on these guys so the mama doesn't get out while we're messing with the baby. I'll get it. You got it. There you go. Alright, so I'm gonna slide the container this way a little bit. But as you can tell, the skin looks wrinkly. When you see a snake with the skin looks wrinkly like that, it's because that skin's about to come off. She's about to shed that layer of skin. This will be their first time shedding, and they don't typically eat until they shed their first time, okay? So you can't really get them to eat right now. Once they shed, that should work a little better, obviously. It's so hard dealing with that big hook with these lines, they're so small. I mean, look how tiny that is. Put it right there, you can see it on the ground better. Okay, next one. Yeah. Not very fast moving snakes. They're not going to chase you down. If you know, the best thing to do if you come up on a snake like this is just turn and walk the other direction. The snake's not going to chase you down. It's just going to go about its way. This snake isn't fast enough to catch an adult walking even fast. They don't even have to run. But look how wrinkly his neck is. That's so funny. I'm gonna wait till they get a good. We'll do another video after they shed, just because their color is going to be much more vibrant, and we'll be able to see a difference in their scale, the scales on their tail. That yellow will kind of start to fade each time they shed. It'll still be yellow definitely next time because this is their first shed. But yeah, so we're gonna do a video with these guys again. Hopefully they'll shed this weekend, and when they do, like I said, before we let them go, we want to make sure they're all good. We'll release them in the same area. They're not gonna hang out in one spot. They'll kind of disperse and move around, but they're not gonna go super far away from each other, just because they just kind of, they keep to a certain territory. So they're not, like I said, they're not gonna go too far, but they're not gonna end up hanging out with the mama necessarily too. They may cross paths with each other, but it's not going to be like, oh, you find one, you're going to find a ton of them. As far as I know, copperheads don't den up like rattlesnakes will do while they're mating and stuff like that. So hey, get down low with it. I want to see it slithering on the ground. Yeah. But yeah, look, he's vibrating his little tail. He's nervous. The snakes will vibrate their tail when they're scared. It's a defense mechanism as well. What it is basically they're trying to warn you just to leave them alone. Like I said, if you find a baby snake, generally in the United States, and it's about this size, this is about maybe 5 to 6 inches. If you find a snake that small and it does not have a neon tip on the end of its tail, then you're more than likely dealing with a non-venomous snake, because baby copperheads have this tip, baby cottonmouths have this tip, and so do baby pygmy rattlesnakes. So most of the venomous species we're going to have that bright tip on the tail. Coral snakes will have their bright coloration, though their colors don't necessarily follow the rhyme. But they are generally going to have the reds and yellows in there. That's something that's bright to let you know to leave them alone. So like I said, if you see always treat a snake as, unless you're 100% sure what it is, just leave it alone, don't handle it. Send us a picture of Louisiana Snake ID. Make sure the ID part is on there, because it's very important that it'll go straight to us. Louisiana Snake ID for identification. Yeah, send that on over, and that way it'll come to us. I can help you with an ID. If you need relocation, if I can't get to it, I have people or friends around the state and other states that'll gladly go relocate a snake to save it from getting killed. I'm not going to send somebody who doesn't know what they're doing. It would be somebody that's probably trained even better than me, that's going to go out there and they're going to safely relocate the snake somewhere where it's away from houses. This is what I'm going to do with these guys. Is I'm going to bring them to a location that's a similar habitat to where they were found. That's good. Okay. All right, we can shut down the video. Sorry, our GoPro gets a little hot after a little while, so we're gonna shut it down pretty soon. But again, these guys are gonna be relocated to a safe place, similar environment to where they were found, and they're gonna be relocated away from houses, so that they should be able to live out their life, catching mice and rats, cicadas, which I hear in the background right now, and hopefully just live out their full lives and do a lot of good. These snakes are gonna do a lot more good for us than they are for them. There's a big ant walking around. But again, we're gonna put this one back up, and then we'll do a quick pan out real quick before we head out. Let's see where the mama is. Okay, come here, little girl, little baby, come on. Let's see. So I'm gonna lift very carefully on the snake. We're gonna get it back up. It's like on a branch, right? Did it kind of hang out on that? I'm gonna put that one right there. All right, guys. Kevin with Louisiana Snake ID. Venomous copperhead had babies a few days ago. The babies they had 11 total, 7 survived, 4 were stillborn. We were preserving those bodies so we can have, that's a cicada right there for those wondering, that you kind of zoomed in on. And like I said, these guys are venomous, but they're not more dangerous than the adults. They're absolutely beautiful creatures. All they need to do is be left alone, and they'll do their job helping you a lot more than they're harming you. I promise. They're protecting your family. They're protecting your pets. So be sure if you see them, just leave them alone. Let them do their thing. Again, check us out on Facebook. Check us out on Facebook, Louisiana Snake ID on Facebook. LA Snake Boys with a Z on YouTube. LouisianaSnakeID.com is the way you can find us there. If you're in Louisiana, check out the Louisiana Sportsman magazine. And then you could go check us out. We have an article in July. We have an article in August. If you got those magazines, then we'll have one coming up in September and a few more months. Just going over the species of Louisiana, venomous and non-venomous, and why they're beneficial, how to identify them, and stuff like that. So, all right, guys, we're going to head out. Kevin with Louisiana Snake ID on Facebook. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you soon.